Chris, what is our first main topic today?
This one comes from Kyle Ginder. John, I just read a lengthy article talking about the falling out between Iger and Chapek, which you've talked about before. The article goes on to say how Chapek removed power from Disney division veterans with 20 to 30 years experience and gave it to one person, Kareem Daniel, who has no experience running these divisions. But Iger didn't like giving Kareem D so much control because Disney is too diverse and a complex company. John, what's your take on this article?
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, it has been well known and well documented that there is tomfoolery afoot over at Disney for a while. Now, look, just to sum this all up, I was very much in favor of Bob Chapek at first being named the successor to Bob Iger. Bob Iger supported the move. The board of directors supported the move. He has had a lot of experience at the company. I was all for it. It wasn't until some time ago now that I, as a fan of Disney, as a big fan of Disney, started hearing some pretty disturbing things about his reorganization, taking power away from the creatives, basically accumulating power structure in faithful lieutenants that he has had over people with far more experience and whatnot. And then we started to hear about tension between Bob Iger, Big Papa Iger, and Chapek, the new CEO, to the point of some pretty horrific sounding things that the two leaders, because remember, even though he handed over the reins of CEO, it's going on 2 years ago now, getting close there at any rate, Bob Iger was still, for a long time until recently, still the chairman of the board. And reports are come out that the two do not speak to each other. They avoid each other. They don't speak to each other. That's not good for a company. Now, CNBC has put out a new report today detailing just how bad it's gotten over there and the fact that to this day now, employees and executives over at Disney are still calling Bob Iger, asking for him to intervene and help because they deem it as becoming awful. That Disney is precariously positioned right now and things is just getting bad. This is basically some of the highlights of what comes out of this CNBC article. Number one, that Chapek and CEO Bob Iger's relationship soured after Iger gave comments to the New York Times about wanting to help Chapek run the company during the pandemic. Now, this is a part of this that we've known about for a while. That there was a New York Times article, this is back when Iger was still with the company, and he was saying without Bob Chapek there, he goes, yeah, I'm co-leading this company right now. I mean, I've got 15 years experience running this thing. I'm stepping in to relieve. And that was news to Chapek. Or at least Chapek didn't like it none too much that Bob Iger was telling the press that Big Papa Iger was holding his hand. And to a degree, I get why he would be a little bit miffed at that.
Sure.
But, you know, you also got to suck it up and understand that Bob Iger is right. He has led this company for 15 years. We're in the middle of a global pandemic in a challenge, the likes of which Disney has never faced.
One of their biggest businesses closed down.
Well, I
theme
mean,
parks,
the movie theaters closed down, the theme parks closed down.
Cruise ships.
I mean, everything about them was suffering. And he was there, he gave this interview, said that apparently that really rubbed Chapek the wrong way. And to a degree, I get it. But that apparently, which doesn't sound like it's much on the surface, apparently that was the catalyst of completely souring their relationship. The article goes on to talk more about, to this day, that numerous Disney employees and executives continue to call Bob Iger over their dissatisfaction with Chapek's leadership. We've heard that everything from the top of creative people being upset about creative decisions. The Pixar people have reached out to Iger, unhappy with how their movies have been handled. Obviously, a lot of dissatisfaction over the Scarlett Johansson situation. We're not going to get into the political stuff, but there was the issue with the legislation going on in Florida. A lot of people very upset about that. I mean, just basically, some people at Disney consider what's going on there right now a gong show. Now, one of the biggest...
Perhaps the Benny Hill theme is
not to the degree of the Benny Hill theme music, but it's gotten to the point now that it's even becoming more and more of an issue that the creatives are getting further upset by the realities of this new power structure, because creatives in Iger, Bob Iger included, was upset with taking away majority control and power of the major divisions of Disney from their creative executives to give it to longtime Bob Chapek loyalist Kareem Daniel. And this is what one executive at Disney says, an anonymous source at Disney says, he arguably has the most important job at Walt Disney outside of the CEO role, and he has almost no experience running any of these businesses that were previously run by people that had decades of experience, said some former coworkers. And that's kind of the hilt of it. And again, it's coming up to a bubble again with everything going on in Florida, whatever. But the point is that there are still lines drawn at Disney. There are still people reaching out, asking for Iger to come back and help me, Obi-Wan Iger, your only hope, asking him to come back. And by the way, at this point, I held on some hope that maybe Iger might come back to right the ship. I don't believe he's going to do that. He's moved on. He's now on the board of several other companies, and he's paving his way forward himself. But it shows that this is a Disney company that for the first time in 15 years is facing a little bit of a crisis internally. We haven't heard in 15 years, guys. The Mouse House was a very happy place to be. Not everybody loved the Mouse House,
No.
but if you were in the house, it was a pretty happy place to be, from what I understand, from people that I know that work there. But what we're hearing now in just a couple of short years of Bob Chapek being at the helm, we are now hearing a lot of fractions, a lot of discord, a lot of upset executives, people now even questioning the creative direction of the company. I mean, it's gotten bad. And again, we have talked about this before, but the fact that today that CNBC is pointing out that this is still a problem right now. Iger is still getting calls from executives. I told you guys that a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from a Disney executive talking about how he knows that there are people setting up safety nets for themselves at other studios right now because they believe it's almost time to ditch. It's time to abandon ship. And the question becomes, at what point does the Disney board intervene and say, we need to make a change? Now, I have been an advocate that Bob Chapek needs minimum 3 years. I believe you have to give an executive a minimum of 3 years to truly show what their vision can do. But in the last 52 weeks alone, Disney stock has dropped 30%. CNBC's article points out that under the current administration, it's continued. Now, of course, it dropped a lot before that because of the pandemic. But just in the last year, when a lot of things seem to be in recovery, their stock has dropped. Disney Plus's growth has slowed. And even though I am an advocate for giving him at least another full year to truly show if his vision can turn this around, it's not hyperbole to say the situation might be becoming dire. So, Rob, let me ask you this. You read this report and heard this. I think you were the first person to send me this report, actually.
Dude, I got up and I read this thing and I'm like, oh, John's got to read this article.
Yeah, I think it's pretty telling. But you look at this article, what are the things in it that stand out to you the most? And secondly, do you think Disney could at some point look at making a change at the top? I would have thought it impossible not long ago, but I don't know. What do you think about this?
Well, this article talked a little bit about anyone who works in the entertainment business in any capacity, whether you're an artisan that's working on movies, whether you're working in the corporate hallways of power, whatever, everyone knows that the very first thing that you need to master to get ahead in this business is interpersonal relationship skills. Bob Iger had that in spades. Apparently, despite all the jokes, I never actually did go to Jeffrey's and have lobster with him on Sundays. I never played squash with the man. But
by the way, to your point, I just want to point this out because you just brought up an excellent point. One of the things the article states is that executives at Disney are saying Bob Chapek has no, quote, emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Which is
he can't
pretty
read
key.
the room,
He can't
I think
read
is
the
what
room.
they say.
Yeah.
This is a huge problem. I mean, and you can see, just look at pictures of Bob. Google search Bob Iger. Whenever you see pictures of him, first of all, he's a handsome man. He's always smiling. Whenever you see him with people, there's clearly a warmth that emanates from the guy. And he's Machiavellian like the best corporate raiders should be, I suppose. I mean, I'm going to go buy Pixar. I'm going to go buy Marvel. I'm going to go get Lucasfilm. And I'm going to sacrifice John Carter to do it. I mean, whatever. The guy was amazing.
By the way, I just want to point out this picture that you can't see where you are right now, but this picture I have up on the screen with you. One of them looks like your favorite uncle. One of them looks like a future Harry Potter villain.
He looks like the others, and I don't want to be mean, but he does look like the other side of Quirrell when we're still figuring out how Voldemort looks.
It's again kind of mean and whatever. I just think that picture kind of sums it all up that we're looking at.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, Bob Iger, when he was a young man, was like, I remember a story, I think it's in his book, where Frank Sinatra gives him a lighter or something, and he still has it. Like, he worked with the greats. He didn't just show up as some corporate entity. Bob Chapek is a corporate animal that I don't think probably had the kind of experience that Bob Iger did growing up and working in the business. And I think what we're seeing is, look, I do not envy Bob Chapek's position. He's coming in on the heels of one of the most beloved executives in the entertainment business. So difficult. And what he's trying to do is what any leader does, surround himself with loyalists so he can get his agenda done. The problem is the loyalists that Bob Chapek is picking are more along his speed, and the skill set, from a corporate standpoint, he's worked his way up in Disney on paper. But so often corporations, when they look at something on paper, are not taking into consideration, because how do you talk about someone's personal magnetism or interpersonal skills? Those kinds of things don't really show up on the spreadsheets that corporations look at to hire. And I think that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this. If I say this statement, tell me how you reflect. To me, Bob Chapek has been in this company a long time. He's clearly a very smart dude. But this is highlighting to me that there is a difference between a good executive and a leader. And right now, Bob Chapek does not strike me as a leader at all. I don't know, Chris, what do you think about this
whole thing? That's what I wanted to bounce off of what Rob was saying, is that term loyalist, right? We are looking at someone who is loyal to Chapek, not loyal to a company, not loyal to an ideology of the greater good of the Disney brand. When you're working in any field, you don't want a bunch of yes men around you. All right. You want people who are going to challenge you and make you make the best products, films, ideas possible. And that means you're going to have some people who have different perspectives than you, different ideologies, but all who are coming from the same, culture, corporate culture, that is, of we need to make the Disney company the best it's ever been. And right now we need to do what Chapek wants to do. And I think the dismissal of all these creatives, and I think the focus on a lot of these more corporate ideologies is really, really hurting them.
Do you know, to speak to that, John, do you know what Bob Chapek, you know what Bob Iger was? Bob Iger was a modern incarnation of Walt Disney. He had the vision. He was able to go out and go after these things like Lucasfilm. Disney needs a Walt Disney in order to do what the Magic Kingdom is supposed to do.
You need an Imagineer.
You need an Imagineer. You need someone like that. Bob Chapek is a corporate animal. He doesn't have any magic. Ooh. And Disney needs magic to lead that company. Mm-hmm. Bob Iger had the magic, but you know what? Not all magicians. One day you gotta take off your hat, your Fantasia hat, and put it down. The broomsticks are not gonna work for you anymore.
One day you're at Gisden and you have to pass on that hat to Mickey, and then he goes bananas with some brooms and buckets. But
I'm telling you,
you reel it in.
Are we talking about real life, or are you talking about?
I was talking some Fantasia.
About
what world are we
in?
A Disney leader needs the Fantasia to lead.
But one of the other interesting things in this article that this points out, and this is a great example. Look, Bob Iger was not blind to the realities of an evolving digital world. Mm-hmm. Like before Bob Iger left, he's like Disney Plus. People forget this. Disney Plus is Bob Iger's baby. The reason he stayed on as long as he did was he made sure he wanted to get that network launched. He made several major moves to kind of reinforce and bolster the whole digital strategy. He made a reorganization to give more authority to that. But he made sure that his creative executives still maintained power over their individual branches, didn't interfere with their creations and all that kind of stuff. Bob Chapek came along and took what Bob Iger started, but then took it to a more extreme degree, taking all power and authority and putting it under his one right-hand guy. And it's perturbed a lot of people. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this article that we had coming out here from CNBC about the situation? Does it continue to deteriorate? Do you guys think at some point the Disney board may intervene and actually make a change? Or do you think, nope, this is the way it's going to be now for Disney? What do you guys think? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down into the comment section below. and leave your thoughts there. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, Coinbase. Have you found yourself curious about getting involved in cryptocurrency, but if you're like a couple of friends of mine who have been really interested in it, they felt kind of overwhelmed by it, like not even knowing how to get started? Well, that's where Coinbase comes in, because they make learning to buy and sell crypto simple. Coinbase offers a trusted and easy-to-use platform to buy, sell, and spend cryptocurrency. They support the most popular digital currencies on the market and make them accessible to everyone. They offer portfolio management and protection, learning resources, and a mobile app so you can trade securely and monitor your crypto all in one place. And that's why millions of people all over the world in 100 different countries trust Coinbase with their digital assets. So whether you're looking to diversify, just getting started, or searching for a better way to access crypto markets, start today with Coinbase. And for a limited time, new users can get $10 in free Bitcoin when you sign up today at coinbase.com/Campea. Sign up at coinbase.com/Campea for $10 in free Bitcoin. This offer is for a limited time only, so be sure to sign up today. That's coinbase.com/Campea.